Hey guys, welcome back to Team 6K. This is Undead. I'm bringing you a World Chalice video this time. So if you've seen our previous videos, you might know that, we've been mainly doing like deck profiles, briefly going over decks and, showing gameplay. Mainly because, after testing any particular deck, we find, which ratios are the best, what I mean, how to build the deck optimally and how to play it optimally as well. So we just kind of want to show off our thoughts on how these things should be done, just, based on our testing. In this video though, I think it's going to be a little bit different because I am fully up to any criticisms when it comes to the deck, because I have not finished building it and I haven't finished learning like all of the matchups I guess that this deck can do. But what I do know is like the win condition and how to facilitate it, how to get there. This deck is a very complicated deck to play. To be honest with you, I don't know if I've ever played a more complicated deck in Duel Links than World Chalice. So this deck video is mainly going to be going over how to get what you need to get done. But I will go over the cards just like normally. So first, here's World Chalice Guard Dragon. The main effect of this is you can banish it from your graveyard to revive one of your normal monsters. I think World Chalice monsters, right? No, just any normal monster from your grave. You get to banish it from your own grave to revive another normal. So it's a good idea to get it into the grave, but it does have another effect, like when it's in the hand or on the field, you can send it to the grave to negate an effect that targets a monster that your link monster points to, or your link monster that points to a monster. That's just me saying it negates an effect that targets a linked monster, and that might be a little bit of a crazy ruling question. So if you think linked, you might be confused. You're like, okay, it negates something that targets a link monster. Not necessarily. Linked means it is pointing to something or something is pointing to it. That is just what linked means. Co-linked means two things are pointing to each other. That's actually going to be relevant for this video. But yeah, those two effects are really nice. It's very easily accessible. This deck is very consistent. Next up, this is the actual consistency piece itself. World Legacy, World Chalice. So it is an interruption. So this is, like, technically speaking, if you wanted to interrupt the opponent, this would be the way you would go about it. Because if your opponent, well, I guess if any player, but mainly you're trying to do it if your opponent special summons a monster from the extra deck, you can send it from your field to the grave to send their extra deck monster to the grave. Additionally, if it leaves the field, if it was normal summon, so if you normal summon it, right, and then at some point after it has been normal summoned on the field, it goes to the grave, you get to special summon two of your World Chalice monsters from deck. So any of these guys at all, any amount of them, just summon two of them from deck. I don't think it's up to two, I think it's specifically two, so if you only have one zone open, it won't activate. Next up is Lee, the World Chalice Fairy. This is Stratos. Normal or special summon, search for the whole archetype, any World Chalice monster. So I don't know whether or not it it does include this. Yeah, 100% does include this. But yeah, so this one can search the entire deck, including itself, which is kind of funny. Its grave effect is also pretty nice. You can send a monster from your hand or field to the grave to add it back to your hand. So, follow up, you can like do that so that you can either get this in the graveyard to use this grave effect, or if you want to get another search off on a following turn, for example. And then these normal monsters are kind of what the deck revolves around, because they're always the start of the combo. Any combo in the deck kind of relies on you getting just one normal monster. Of course, it's nice to have many normal monsters. Regardless, you're going to be using more than one, but you need these to get going, essentially. If we didn't have to play these, we obviously wouldn't, because normal monsters don't do anything. But they're not one card combos, but they're one card starters. Of course, we have Unexpected Die to summon him from the deck. If you don't have Unexpected Die, there is that spell card you can charm, that you can farm from Chaz that will like pay 800 life points. Look at the top 4 cards of your deck. Summon any amount of level 3 or lower normals from the deck. That's why I have only the level 3 or lower normals in my deck. But if you don't want to use that, I don't want to use it regardless. If you don't want to use that because it's, you know, random, I wouldn't, because I don't want to give myself the chance. I want to guarantee it. So instead of Unexpected Die, what I would do instead is actually play this, because even though it's not a special summon, I would play 3 of this. Even though it's not a special summon, it is a guaranteed normal monster, and that's the main thing. But yeah, and then Enemy Controller. Enemy Controller helps us play around Salamangreats. It helps us play around many things. It's obviously a very good interruption on its own. Just being able to take your opponent's monster mid-combo. It's also quite good if you contribute your World Chalice. It'll trigger off its effect. It'll also trigger off all of your Link monsters' effects, because all of your Link monsters actually float. All of them have the exact same effect of, if it's sent to the graveyard, you can special summon a World Chalice monster from your hand. And none of them are hard ones per turn, so I could use the floating effect of Imduk multiple times. I can use the effect of Ib multiple times. I can use the floating effect of Orem multiple times. I can use the floating effect of Linkiest multiple times, and that's really good, because that's the main way that we actually end up extending. We fill up our hand, we fill up our field. When we float, we summon more, so we're essentially gaining the advantage that we lose by Link summoning. However, that is a very difficult process to do. You actually have to know how to get what you're getting. So I'm gonna go into a bot game just so I can show you how the deck essentially functions. We're going second here against a level 4 bot. Of course, I'm only going against a bot so I can show you how to play the deck. I will have legitimate ranked gameplay in a second. But of course, first things first, no matter what your hand is, your primary goal is to get a normal monster onto the field. So that's going to be the first thing I do. Of course, I have Unexpected Die, so that should obviously be the first thing I do. If they interrupt me here, it's okay, I can always summon the other one. But the first thing I'm going to do is go into Imduk. Imduk is the reason we need a normal summon. Sorry, not a normal summon. We need a normal monster, because it gives us an additional normal summon for World Chalices. Of course, what we want to have is World Legacy World Chalice. This is the best card to have in hand, in every single hand. And thankfully we have it, but if we didn't have it, we do actually have the, let me have a look at the deck real quick. We do have this that can search for it. So if we did have this in hand instead of this, then we could search for it. But what we're going to do is we're going to tribute something, because it is a level 5. We're going to tribute this. And then Imduk Engrave will float. It doesn't necessarily matter what we summon here, but I'm going to summon this so I can get a follow-up from the grave. I'm going to use both of them for a link summon for Ib the World Chalice Princess, I think it is. No, Priestess. Alright, World Chalice is now going to float. Here, I normally go into 2 normal monsters, unless I have not activated Lee yet. So I'm going to use Lee. And I'm always going to summon Lee here, and I'm always going to summon Ib right in the middle. Always make sure you're putting your normal monster directly in the middle, okay? So Lee's obviously going to search here. It doesn't necessarily matter that deeply what you search. For the sake of this combo, I'm just going to search for Chosen. Next important thing, you have to use the skill. This skill, Monster Move. This is the skill you need to play for this deck. It is mandatory, alright? So I'm going to use Monster Move to move the Link monster directly under it. The reason for this is going to be shown in just a second. Now that we have an arrow pointing to this zone, this is why we needed the normal monster here. We're going to use the normal monster to summon the Imduk. The Imduk requires a normal monster. So, now that we have these 2 monsters here, we can link summon again. We're going to summon our second Ib. And the reason that we summoned that Imduk is so that we can use this grave effect again. And we can summon a Crowned by the World Chalice. Of course, when these two point to each other, they essentially make themselves immortal, and that's actually the turn 1 play of this deck. If this was turn 1, I would end my turn right here, pretty much. But I don't have to, I can actually kill them this turn. But I'll just explain how these are immortal right now. So essentially, when they point to each other, they cannot be targeted, they cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. It's pretty much that simple. They pretty much just protect themselves depending on the way the arrows are happening, and if the easiest way to get them to protect themselves is just to have 2 copies. But yeah, we're actually going for an OTK instead. So we're going to use this normal monster for an Imduck. I think we've used all 3 Imducks now. Then we're going to use... Okay, so this Ningirsu, right, it requires 2 or more Link monsters. This is why we're going into this Imduck right here, because you need 2 Link monsters, right? So this is the 1 and 2 requirement, and this is the 1 requirement. So 1, 2, 3. And we're going to put it in the middle here, because it has an effect on Link Summon that's going to activate right now to draw cards equal to the amount of World Chalices that it points to. But the chain link is going to happen. I'm going to use Ib. I'm also going to chain Imduck just in case they have a negate. They don't. I can special summon from hand. And then I get to draw 2 because he points to 2 World Chalice monsters. He now has an effect where he can send one of my cards and one of his cards to the grave. This doesn't target, so they have to respond immediately. They don't know what card I'm going to pick. So I'm just going to get rid of this one and get rid of himself. This is kind of important for the OTK play. Then he actually triggers his own effect, his own grave effect. I'm going to special summon from hand because of his floating effect. Then I'm going to go into Aurum. Aurum is pretty important as well. Aurum is actually going to be able to revive Ningirsu. Thankfully, we have a World Chalice Guard Dragon in our graveyard. What this does, like I said earlier, is it will revive one of our normal monsters to a zone that a Link monster points to. So this zone, because 2 of our Link monsters point to it. This one tributes a card that it points to revive any of my monsters, pretty much. So I'm going to revive Ningirsu. Now I can send something else again. Alright, so I'm going to normal summon this and tribute it. Well, I'm not going to tribute it, I'm just going to send 2 of my opponent's cards. And then, as you can see, we do have overwhelming lethal. So before I get into the ranked gameplay, I am going to show you the going first combo. With the only 4 cards, of course. I happen to have Unexpected Die, but if I didn't have it, it wouldn't have mattered. Because I do have another normal monster. I generally go for this one just because if I revive it later on using the dragon, then it revives in defense mode, and I would like to, have a high defense. But it's not like it matters that deeply. So I'm going to go into Imduck just like before. I haven't used my regular normal summon yet. But oftentimes you don't need to. So I'm going to tribute summon using the additional normal summon that Imduck gives me. Imduck, of course, is going to float again. If I have Lee in my hand, then this is like priority number 1 because it gets to search. So I'm going to search for another copy of World Chalice to give me an additional interruption. I'm going to use these 2, of course, to go into Ib. Ib is our essentially the way that we are going to survive until the next turn, so that next turn we can do the same combo we did in the last clip. So World Chalice is going to use its ability, of course, getting a normal monster, and I'm also going to get myself a World Legacy Guard Dragon. Normal monster always in the middle, remember that, alright? So monster move is going to put this monster down. I have not used my regular normal summon. Because I have the World Chalice Fairy, this is actually why I summoned the Guard Dragon. Because a fun thing is, if I use my normal summon right now to go, it's my normal monster by the way, to go into Imduck, they will both be dragons and I won't be able to summon another Ib because they actually require different materials. But I haven't used my normal summon, So what I'm going to do is send this to the grave, add it back to my hand for a follow-up, and normal summon. So this way, when I go into my M-Duck, it is indeed going to be a different type from my crown. And the reason I need to do this is because I actually do need the floating effect of my M-Duck to make this end board. So I'm going to go into IB right now. And then of course my M-Duck is going to activate, and I will special summon the World Chalice in defense mode. I don't want them to kill me by going into attack mode, of course. So what this board essentially sets up is pretty much an unbreakable board. If they special summon from the extra deck, I can use this to send itself and that extra deck monster to the grave. These two, while they point to each other, cannot be targeted and they cannot be destroyed. And if this one here would be destroyed by something, I could technically use this to protect it. But yeah, that's pretty much the main, the going first and going second of the combo. Let's get into the game, shall we? I'm going second here against Salamangreats, the tier 0 deck, of course. They're just going to be comboing off. I am going second of them because if I went first against them, I don't think it would have been that interesting. So that's why I'm showing a going first clip. They're going to have full access to their Omni Negate, and I'm not going to be able to get rid of that Omni Negate. I'm just going to have to play through it. So as you see here, I did have the combo. I have to normal summon World Chalice, the crown by the World Chalice, link summon into M-Duck, which will give me an additional normal summon. I tribute summon it, so just keeping in mind, I have no more normal summons left, so I can't do any funny stuff. Except for the fact that I do have Enemy Controller. Enemy Controller is the funniest card going second, as you're about to see. So I'm going to use Lee, and he's going to negate it, alright? But thankfully for me, I do have Enemy Controller, which is going to trigger off my World Chalice when I steal his Link too. And I'm going to link these off into my IB, use my skill to move it down, use my God Dragon to summon my normal monster, use my normal monster to summon another Link monster, use his Link 2 and my Link 1 to summon my boss monster, Linkiest. I'm gonna activate it, and I'm going to chain to summon my World Chalice from hand, and he's gonna scoop after he sees that I draw 2 cards. Just going second against Blue Eyes here. Unexpected die, of course. This hand is pretty damn good, I'm not gonna lie. M-Duck, of course, going to give us another normal summon. Going to tribute summon. Still have a normal summon left over. Lee is going to search our hand trap here. Like summoning Ib. Going to use the skill after, of course, summoning our 2 monsters. Going to use monster move. This is essentially just the going second combo. He technically, I'm pretty sure he's just saving his Karma Cut for the right moment. I'm not sure if it's Karma Cut, but I am able to negate it, I believe. Yep, I think he was saving it, but I can negate it. So Orm is going to resummon. I'm going to be able to resummon from grave another thing that I can send to grave, to send his thing to grave, attack for gain. I'm playing against DDs here, and they weren't first. They have a hand trap in their hand, so they feel like they're safe. Unfortunately for them, their hand trap is actually hard countered by this deck. So I'm just going to do some regular old World Chalice combos as I showcased just a second ago. Just trying to go for lethal mainly. Lots of monster spamming as long as you know all the effects and how to accomplish it. 3 Link monsters. Why aren't my monsters being reduced? Skull Servant. Okay. Whoops. White Princess. Alright. So, let me see. During either player's turn, you can send this card from your hand or field to the grave. All monsters on the field lose attack and defense equal to their own level, rank, times 300. Link monsters don't have levels and they don't have ranks. They have Link ratings. Because of this, they will lose nothing. Here, I'm actually going first against the old tier 1 deck. This is Rose Dragons. Of course, I have the full combo, that being a normal monster plus World Chalice. I'm going to be able to lead to search for another World Chalice. Oftentimes, I'll search for another World Chalice to use as an interruption, but if you do this, make sure that you're saving it. If possible, save that World Chalice summon for the very end of the combo. So I'm going to summon Ib, of course, going to use World Chalice to summon a couple monsters, of course getting that dragon for the follow-up. Moving with the skill, summoning an Imduck. Because I already have a dragon, I'm just going to get this back. I have not normal summoned yet. So now I'm going to use these to go into Ib. This is going to do the float, and I will summon my World Chalice. He's not going to be able to break this board, and I will be able to interrupt him. So he's already used his Basil Rose Shoot, which is unfortunate for him. His Black Rose Dragon's going to activate. I'm going to get rid of it just in case he has another revival spell. He does, thankfully for him, but you might notice these guys didn't get destroyed either by the effect or by battle. Here I am, I'm going to be able to go for a whole OTK play, but I think he's going to see it coming, so he's going to scoop. I don't remember when though. Ningirsu is going to come out here. I'm going to be able to get rid of his monster and draw 2 cards. He sees me drawing 2 cards and searching a whole other card. My card advantage right now is crazy. I'm going to take his monster, then tribute his monster to add my thing back to hand, and then he sees that I'm just flexing and he scoops. So this hand is actually pretty bad because I don't have any way to access World Chalice, as in World Legacy World Chalice. No, I do technically have 6 copies in my deck, but I have none of them in my hand now. But I did want to show that the deck is capable of getting off what it needs to get off in these situations. So I'm going first here with a iffy hand. I am still able to set up the double Ib lock, which, you know, makes both of my monsters immortal. I do have a few grave effects here. I have this one that I can follow up with if need be. But yeah, he's just going to do his Ancient Gear stuff, attack. Notice that I'm not dying. Hopefully. Could have used Guard Dragon to follow up. Go into Imduck. Go into the boss monster Ningirsu, Mr. Anime Boy. Gonna use both of them, both of the grave effects, just in case he has a negate or something. He's just gonna scoop it up. I just wanted to show this game just to show that this deck can play through an awkward hand. So yeah guys, I think this deck is really solid. As you saw in the gameplay, it can take on some pretty damn powerful decks. And you know, that indestructible combo that our Ib can pull off for us is really nice as a going first option. Of course, World Chalice is a really good interruption as well. Econ is insane in this deck, as you saw against Salamangreats and against Rose Dragons. But yeah, I don't think you necessarily need to take this deck list as an indication of how the deck needs to look. I think that this deck, the way I built this deck, is mainly built to show, just to like show what the deck does inherently, you know, just focusing on consistency here. If you feel like there are some cards that you could run to make the deck a bit better, you could definitely try it out. I'm just mainly showing off this video to show how the deck operates. But yeah, if you guys have any ideas, leave them in the comments. If you like the video, subscribe if you're new around here, and yeah, that's about it. See ya.